All right, great. Well, welcome everyone to this week's Franchise Partner Spotlight webinar. For anyone that doesn't know me, I think I know everyone on the call, but for anyone that doesn't know me that may be listening in after the fact, my name is Wes Barefoot. I'm the Director of Franchise Development for ShelfGenie. And if this is the first of these webinars you're attending or listening to, the purpose of these Spotlight webinars is for anyone that's interested in learning more about ShelfGenie and our franchise opportunities to have the chance to hear from some of our franchise owners as well as some of the folks on our executive team. So we do one of these webinars. We try to do one a week. And each week we have a different franchise partner or someone from the home office come on and just share a little bit of their story and what their experience has been since joining ShelfGenie. So it's just another way that anyone that's interested in learning more can have some exposure and get some interaction with key members of the ShelfGenie organization. So this week, instead of a franchise partner, we have a key member of the executive team joining us today. We have Miss Brooke Remington. Brooke is the Director of Distribution and Logistics. So really what she oversees is our manufacturing process. And I'll try not to take too much away from her because I'm going to introduce her and hand it over to her in just a moment. But obviously manufacturing our solutions is a key part of how our franchise owners and their teams are successful. So Brooke and the team that she manages play a very key role in what we're able to do here at ShelfGenie for our clients. So with that, I'd like to introduce Brooke. And Brooke, thanks for joining us today. I know everyone on the call and anyone listening after the fact is going to get a lot of good information from you. I know I get a lot of questions when it comes to the manufacturing process and the solutions that we provide. So looking forward to the insight that you'll be able to share with us today. So with that, if you don't mind, maybe just give a brief introduction. You've been with ShelfGenie really since the very beginning in terms of the franchise model that we have today. So maybe start out just by sharing a little bit of how you got involved with ShelfGenie, what your roles have been over the years leading up to now.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me, and hello, everyone. Yes, I started back in 2007. It was pre-ShelfGenie. We were actually called Shelf Conversions back then in Richmond, Virginia. And that is, we grew out of a garage there and then had about a 7,000 square foot facility there. I was dealer support administration, so just order entry, kind of helping manage the office. It was my first job out of college. And what made me take the job, someone said, you should come on board because we're about to start franchising. And I, at the time, had no interest in, manufacturing or wooden boxes, but I thought, well, that's interesting. I could get in on the ground floor and really be a part of something. So that's how I got started. Like I said, I was mainly just doing customer service and order entry, but just the way my mind works, I have to understand process and how things are made. So in my, spare time, I would kind of go down on the manufacturing floor and just really learn from the guys and understand the process, what they were doing and what went behind the quality piece of it. So I just kind of learned manufacturing that way. And it's crazy to say now, but I have a passion for wooden drawers now. So I took a brief hiatus in 2015. Decided to go try the corporate route and went to Home Depot, the corporate office based here in Atlanta. Learned some really cool things about the retail side of things and also how slowly the corporate world moves. So now I'm back here. I've been back for about 3.5 months and I'm having a ball.
Awesome. Very cool. So Brooke did take a brief hiatus, but couldn't stay away from ShelfGenie for too long. So we're all very excited to have her back on the team. You started back earlier this year. What month was it?
Yep, I started March of this year. So little bit more than 90 days under my belt, and we've done a lot in the last 3 months, and I'm excited about the rest of the year.
Yeah, definitely. There's been a lot going on. So, and I should have mentioned earlier, just a quick housekeeping note. Typically what we do, I'll try to keep everyone muted just to prevent too much background noise, but we will open it up, unmute everyone periodically throughout the call. So there will be plenty of opportunity for Q&A. There's also a chat box. So if anyone has questions, as Brooke's talking, feel free to put any questions or comments into the chat box. Keisha, if you could help me keep an eye on that. That's another way that you can submit some questions. So, Brooke, there's people on this call kind of at all various stages of the discovery process. So, for those that may be a little newer to ShelfGenie and are still in the early stages of learning, and it'll be good for everyone, I think, maybe just give like a 30,000-foot view of the manufacturing process. So once a franchise partner submits an order to manufacturing, kind of maybe just walk us through what happens all the way up to it shipping out.
Sure. Well, I think one of the other things that sets ShelfGenie apart as a franchise system is our CRM system, Wish Portal. So the cool thing there is that Wish Portal is, allows you to take care of your clients and your leads, but that's also where your installers put all of the information that manufacturing needs to build all of the product. So it all happens right there. And then from there, once the job is sold, the owner will then submit that job to manufacturing, and it literally will speak straight from Wish Portal, our CRM, straight into our product planner, which is what speaks to our CNC machine. So we're able to seamlessly connect those two. And years ago we did not have CNC, we did not have the high tech equipment that we have now. So that's also a really cool piece that we're able to do more. We're able to build more custom things with our CNC. So once it goes into our product planner, it will hit the floor. It gets cut. That's actually the quickest part of the process because everything is so automated now. And then several days to then put everything together, because we literally start with raw material and then we build all of the boxes one by one to the millimeter based on what that client wants. And so then the most part then after it's assembled is it's in QC. And so we have some really rigorous quality checks. We check every single box, and we've got a 13-point system that we check every box for to make sure that it's right before it goes out the door. The other thing cool about Wish Portal there is, you can see that every step of the way, and Wish Portal will tell you when it's in product planner, when it's going to the floor, when it's going to be shipping. So we try and update those statuses along the way. And then we ship it out, and we send the shipping information to the franchise owner and the installer so that they can then track that while it's in transit, all over the US and Canada.
Yeah, it's a very intuitive process, and Wish Portal does really streamline all of the communication between our plant and the franchise owners and their teams that are going to be involved in the installation. So I don't even want to imagine what it was like before all of that was integrated and as comprehensive as it is now, because it's a pretty streamlined process. And I'll back up a little bit. I probably should have led with this, but Brooke, maybe just for anyone that's not aware, kind of explain the setup between ShelfGenie and Go Manufacturing, which is our manufacturing company, because we are vertically integrated and essentially do manufacturing in-house. We just have it kind of set up as a separate company, if you will. So maybe kind of explain that just for anyone that's not clear.
Sure. So Go Manufacturing stands for Glide Out. So that's what our primary product. So it is, that is technically the team that I'm over is Go Manufacturing, but we are vertically integrated with ShelfGenie. We are the single source for any Glide Out or accessory item that is ordered. So the franchise, it makes it easier for the franchise partner because they just have to deal straight with us. If there's any issues with freight, if there's any issues with, damage, it all, we handle all of that in-house. And we can then monitor the quality that way as well. We used to outsource a lot of the manufacturing through third-party drawer box manufacturers. And we've just learned over the years that we can so much better control the quality and also, the speed of which we can get things out when it's all in-house.
Yeah, it definitely makes it easier having really just that one point of contact instead of having to keep track of, various vendors and manufacturing partners and, who to go or where to go for what, I guess I should say. So you want to talk a little bit about the plant itself, where it's located, how many employees work there, some of that information?
Sure. Our current location, we are right outside Birmingham, Alabama. So it's about 2 hours from our corporate office here in Atlanta, 2.5, depending on Atlanta traffic. But we have about 40 folks that are at the plant, as well as 2 folks in the office that help support us with questions with installers or speaking with franchise owners and do a lot of the communication piece for us. And then we have our plant manager, Heath Moore, and an assistant plant manager. So we've got a pretty good team. And, we, especially in the last 90 days since I've been back, we've been working on kind of unifying that team and bringing some of the ShelfGenie culture that's really important to us. I don't know if y'all have talked about that, Wes, but bringing that to the facility there so that we are, one big team.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's been very cool to see, some of the changes that you've implemented, in just the last 90 days and the impact that that's having, at the plant, which then has a huge impact system wide. So definitely excited for what you have in store too. And then you've got Steve OHare as well as part of your team. You want to talk a little bit about Steve and what his role is?
Definitely. Other than these days, right and sometimes left hand for me, because he wears a lot of hats. But yes, he's been really instrumental. He's helping with a lot of the process and a lot of the training that we're implementing at the plant now, as well as he oversees all of our product development. So we're actually teeing up for the remainder of this year and then into 2020, where we're really anticipating being able to release some cool new products. And so he is managing that, and he works with a lot of our franchise owners and their designers to get that feedback on, what we should focus on next.
Yeah. And that's an interesting point. I didn't have this listed as a question or a topic to talk about, but it's probably worth maybe spending a minute or two on. Mm-hmm. Share a little bit how, some of our any of the franchise partners have the opportunity, but we have a handful of franchise partners in particularly that have really been instrumental in helping us continue to develop, new products and expand our offerings. So what are ways that franchise partners and their teams, for that matter, their designers and installers, are able to have some input with manufacturing and kind of get involved in that process?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. When we talk about, when I started in 2007 and for the first 3 years or so, we had maybe 20 products, and now we have hundreds. And truly the majority of those have come from our franchise partners and their designers, because they are the ones that are in the home and they see the need. And, they'll call up our team and say, could we come up with a solution that, X, Y, Z? And a lot of times it starts with just building it for one client and seeing how the client likes it and then getting feedback from the rest of the system. And we say, oh, you know what? We have a lot of folks out there that need that, particularly with, spices. And we have so many different ways to help with spices in the kitchen now. And literally all of those have come from the system. So some of them can come from just having what we call a custom build, where it's just a one-off where we're going to try something and then we decide to move forward with it, make it a product so it's easier for everyone to order. Right. Or, they can email us at any time with different ideas. And then, as you just mentioned, then we also have a committee with about 5 franchise partners and then some designers as well. And we meet once a month. We talk about what we're working on, what we're seeing out in the field. They kind of help us prioritize our list of things, of what to tackle next. And it's a really good back and forth.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, to hear you talk about, circa 2007 with literally only having a handful of products that we offered. And it's a good distinguishment you make too, because, we talk about and you'll hear anyone internally with ShelfGenie refer to our products as our solutions. That's just kind of our language. But we truly can build entirely custom solutions, even if it's something that our plant's never built before. If the design makes sense and it'll physically, work for the client, our plant has the ability to make that custom design. But a lot of things that are now kind of staples in the ShelfGenie offering, started off as that one-off kind of out-of-the-box solution that a franchise owner or designer came up with because the client needed it. And then we realized, hey, this is something that a lot of people, have a need for. And this could be something that, we need to roll out to the whole system and make them aware of. So it's been interesting to see that evolution over the years. So I'm gonna open it up to questions here in just a minute, but there's one question I know without a doubt that will come. So I'll go ahead and have you speak to it. And it's kind of the $1 million question, right? What is it about ShelfGenie's solutions that, really set us above and beyond, what any of our competitors may offer, or just any of the other options out there that a client could take a look at?
Well, that is the $1,000,000 question, and I'm going to try and keep it short. But I think the first thing, going back to what you just said about solutions, because I think that's the first thing that we teach all of our designers and franchise owners, is that is what we're going into the home to provide is a full solution. So, a lot of our competitors will go and say, yep, I'll put a box there, a box there, a box there. Whereas we're really looking at what can we do for this particular client's kitchen that will change their life, or, change their everyday. So that's the first thing. But then, from the manufacturing side, the fact that we are truly custom, a lot of the other folks out there that are probably, cheaper, faster, they do it on, you can do 10 inches, 5 inches, 30 inches, but we build literally everything to the millimeter, which is very small. And every single order is treated as its own individual order. And then, the other thing is, I think, the quality of the materials. So we pick the most select 9-ply Baltic birch that we can find out there. It's brought in from Russia. It's not something that you can go to Home Depot and pick up. Really high quality drawer slides, or as we call them, rails. We make sure to go above and beyond that. Not only are they going to come out of the cabinet, but we're going to make sure that they fully extend, and maybe in some cases extend even past the cabinet. So just taking those extra steps to really make sure that we're taking care of that client, from start to finish.
Yeah, definitely. And, Brooke and myself may be slightly biased, but, I think when clients really start looking at the various options out there, it becomes pretty clear that not only, are we able to truly come in and customize these solutions for our clients, beyond that, it truly is a better quality product. And a lot of the other companies or options out there are typically going to have a much more generic offering. It's not going to be, nearly as suited for what they may need, and just not, as many options. So do you want to talk a little bit about the 3 different kind of product lines that we have?
Yeah, we have 3 different lines of our glide outs, kind of our good, better, best model. So our good model, or our entry level, is our basic line. And that is still made with, Russian Baltic birch, but we do a different box construction. We dovetail that for those that know woodworking. Our classic is, our bread and butter. It's our staple. It's 80% of what our clients are ordering. It's what we started with, back in 2006. And that is our Baltic birch. And we have, we do a lap joint is the construction of that, but because that is the best for Baltic birch. And then for those that want that solid hardwood box, we have our designer series, which we call our best series. And that's a solid box, and we can stain that in several different colors, from light cabinets all the way to dark cabinets, and we can also paint them white. So that's for more of our, higher end side of things, I suppose.
Yeah. And the designer comes in a few different colors as well, which is an attractive option for a lot of people. And, kind of going along with quality, we're really in a position to kind of put our money where our mouth is. So we do offer a lifetime warranty on the classic and designer lines. Can you talk, because I know this is a pretty common question as well, talk a little bit about the warranty, how that works. How would that impact the franchise owner if there is a warranty claim? Who's responsible for that?
Sure. Yeah, and so that's the other benefit of having being vertically integrated with Go Manufacturing, because it's actually Go Manufacturing that is going to be warranting that for a lifetime. So if a client purchases today, and let's say there's another franchise owner that takes over the territory 10 years from now, we are still going to Go Manufacturing built that box for Mrs. Smith. So we are going to warranty that box, the product, the construction, the rails. We don't warranty the labor, but we do warranty the product for literally a lifetime. And we have it's very easy and streamlined in our CRM system. You can just put in a warranty claim, or the installer can put in a warranty claim, send us a picture so that we know what the issue is. And we get it out that same week to make it right for the client.
Yeah, and so on a warranty, maybe explain the difference between a warranty and a reorder, because in a warranty, the cost to reorder the materials or rebuild the materials is not absorbed by the franchise partner. Maybe give an example of a reorder where that would not necessarily be the case.
Sure. So what we consider a reorder is if we build a job, it comes out and the installer goes to install it and maybe realizes, oh, I made a mistake. I mismeasured. I should have, ordered, 500 millimeters and I accidentally ordered 400 millimeters. So we will allow the installer to put in what we call a reorder, but we give a discount so that we, because it's not something that manufacturing, messed up. It's not a quality issue, but it is something that needs to be made right for the client. So we give a reorder discount so that we can get that out quickly to the client and make things right to get the install done. If there is a warranty claim where it's something that's been installed, but like we said, if there is an issue that comes up and the client's unhappy, that is submitted differently because that is not something that we will then charge for. It's at zero cost to the franchise owner.
Right. Yep. Perfect. Because I know that's a question that comes up pretty often. So thanks for clarifying that. Well, good stuff. I'm gonna quickly try to unmute everyone. So once I do that, if anyone does have questions, feel free to fire away. Don't be shy.
This is Gary. What's an average order look like?
That's a great question. So a typical order or job for a client is, I think our average right now is around 10 glide outs. We've seen some that have 40 glide outs, but anywhere from 10 to 12. The other thing that we do is we encourage all of our franchise owners to what we call batch their jobs together, because we want to actually maximize the shipment that we're sending to you and cut down on freight costs. So we will encourage to submit anywhere from 2 to 10 jobs at a time, so that we can build those for you all together, and then they can all come and they can get installed all at once versus onesie twosie.
Yeah, good question, Gary. And in terms of dollar amount, last year, for example, the system average job price was just under $3,500. It was $3,400 and some change. So that's, usually around 10 to 12 glide outs, as Brooke said, but just to kind of give you an idea of what that translates to in dollars.
Yes, retail. Yes.
Yeah, retail. And then our cost of goods as a system last year ran just under 26% of the final sell amount. So that's a good question. Any follow-up questions to that, or does anyone else have questions? This is a golden opportunity to pick.
I have a separate question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just curious, does ShelfGenie own any manufacturing or design patents?
No. We have a lot of intellectual IP on some of our riveting and bracketing processes, but there's nothing that is officially patented, no.
Okay, and has ShelfGenie tried to get any patents before?
We have. It's a product that we actually never really went forward with, but several years ago, it was an appliance lift that we did get a patent on, but we ended up wanting to scrap that design. So it's something that we're willing to do and have put the time and investment into doing if it's a unique enough product. And
when it comes to patents, let's say a franchisee invents some kind of a solution for a client that it's not around right now, and it's something that could be patented. How would that work out? Would that patent go directly to ShelfGenie corporate, or would that be considered owned by the franchisee? The patent.
Typically, it would be, under ShelfGenie, under Go Manufacturing would be the one to be filing the patent. That's not something we've encountered in my years. I know, we've worked with we have a lot of engineers. A lot of our franchise owners are engineers. at heart, and they have participated with us in some designs of certain things, but it does go under corporate with ShelfGenie.
Okay. Thank you for answering my question.
Sure.
Yeah, those are good questions. And I mean, I guess really if a franchise owner did, to say invent something new, if they really felt strongly that they wanted to patent it, they'd have every right to go and patent it. It's not cheap to patent a new product. So I guess it would partially depend, does the franchisee want to go through that process themselves and fund it? And if they get the patent, then maybe they could license it to ShelfGenie, or, would they look to ShelfGenie to help, fund that and navigate the process? So, I think if it's an invention worth patenting and the franchise owner felt strongly enough they wanted to do it, they would have our support in that. So it's a good question.
Okay.
I can see Tommy now going out to his garage after this and tinkering around, seeing what he can come up with.
That's right.
Great. Any other questions for Brooke? Don't be shy, guys. This is a good opportunity. I had to do some convincing to get her to come on here. All right. Well, those of you that have spent any time with me, I'm not short-winded at all, so I can keep the conversation going, no problem. Talk a little bit, Brooke, if you don't mind, about the freight process. I know you've kind of alluded to this, but from a franchise owner's perspective, how much or little are they going to be involved in the whole freight side of this, actually getting the materials to them?
Hopefully, in an ideal world, they are involved very, very little. That's something that, especially when they come to training, that we work with them to say, this is, and when you bring on your installers, it's their responsibility to find a place to receive the freight. And we have a bunch of best practices that we can walk through to give them ideas of here's some ways to do that where maybe it won't cost a lot, different partnerships that you can go to try and get folks to receive it for free would be ideal. But, we want there to be little charge to the franchise owner. So we will encourage that they are receiving these at a place that does have a dock, that does have the ability to take in pallets, to avoid any kind of what they call accessorial charges. So can we ship it to someone's home? Yes, and we do, but there's additional charges for that. It requires a truck that has a lift gate that can bring the pallet all the way down. If it requires someone to wheel it in somewhere, there's a charge for that. So we really try and work with the franchise owners in the beginning to help them avoid those charges so that there's little cost or involvement. We will handle it from there. So if we ship the product, we send the tracking number. If the installer has an issue, they're calling Go Manufacturing. They're not calling the franchise owner. And we're working with them to get that sorted out.
Yeah. So again, very streamlined for the franchise owners. Really don't have to get involved in the freight at all. The biggest aspect of that is when you are bringing installers on board, number one, setting that as an expectation up front with any installer that, part of your responsibility and part of what I'm paying you in the form of what most franchise owners do, pay a commission, a percentage of each job that they install. So that money that I'm paying you covers all of the expenses you may incur to get this job installed, including receiving the delivery. So just for example, one of my installers started out using a storage unit, and then they were charging the accessorial fees that Brooke alluded to. There was a fee for having to put it on a truck with a lift gate because there wasn't a dock at this storage unit. There was a fee for delivering it to what they classified a non-commercial location. So, I had set that expectation with my installer. He was paying these extra fees. And eventually he got rid of the storage unit. He now just goes to the freight company's terminal and picks it up there. It removes all of those charges and is a pretty straightforward process for him. There's a lot of other franchise owners and installers that have other solutions as well. So for those of you that are in the process of validating and talking to some owners, that's a great topic that I'd recommend asking folks about. Hey, how do your installers receive deliveries? Because it is something logistically, you'll want to have a plan for, so that you're not kind of scrambling once you have orders coming in and shipping to you.
Yeah. And then just kind of to go back to what we talked about before with how we encourage through the CRM system, through Wish Portal to batch all of the jobs together, that also helps to minimize that, so that if, the more that we can ship at once, if there is an accessorial charge, at least you're only getting hit with it once, versus having numerous shipments. We try as much as possible to ship as much together versus we don't want to have to send something UPS, because we've also all seen the videos of what UPS does to those boxes when they're just flinging them around. So we want to palletize and pack them really well and get them safely to the installer.
Yeah. So that's a good point. Maybe explain the process if something does get damaged in shipping, and it doesn't happen often, but it does happen. And in that case, it's the freight company's responsibility. So how does Go Manufacturing work with the freight companies? And when those type of issues arise, how is it handled?
Yeah. So, I mean, and that's another real benefit for the franchise owners, because we don't, a lot of companies out there will ship freight, COD, and it will be on the receiver to pay for the product and the freight. But with us, we are paying it. It's prepaid. So, if there is damage, and, it can happen, a forklift can accidentally go through a pallet. All that we require of the installer is to submit a claim for us to rebuild the boxes. We'll rebuild the boxes, and then it's on us to go to the freight company. So we file the claim with the freight company. We are the ones that kind of fight that fight to recoup the money. We don't put the franchise owner through that.
Yep. It's, again, a huge benefit in my opinion. I mean, since being a franchise owner, and my wife, who really runs our business, had to get involved very little with any of this. So it definitely frees our time up to focus on things that are going to move the needle more for our business. So, and I had another question that popped into my mind as you were talking, and I just lost it. So there's like a 30% chance it'll come back to me. And if so, I'll ask you then. But, another question that I know, probably most of the folks on the call are wondering, with manufacturing and anything, right, there's challenges. You alluded to this earlier, our now in-house manufacturing company, that's been an evolution. We haven't always been vertically integrated. We've used different third parties and so forth. What are some of the challenges that, we've encountered over the years when it comes to manufacturing? And then what are some of the challenges that maybe, we still have, and maybe talk a little bit in terms of what's being done to, remove some of those challenges?
Sure. I think, I mentioned that, we have this 13, point quality check system that we're putting every glide out through at the end when it hits the end of the line. I think, quality is, of number one importance to us. It's also something that you have to work at every day to make sure that it's consistent. We're trying to instill, with the team that we have now, as you just said, we are fully integrated with our manufacturing facility being in-house just as recent as January, that we're all operating under Go Manufacturing now. So, it's a different mindset that we're expecting of the folks on our team. We're not looking at these as building a box. We want these to be pieces of furniture, and our clients are, paying good money for these, and that culture needs to be instilled in the team, so that they know when they're building these that there's a lot of expectation on the end with the client. So, I mean, quality is always number one, that we are going to beat that drum every day, and it requires training every single day. And you have to say things about 7 times before it sticks. And that's definitely true in manufacturing as well. I think the other challenge that we have is, business is very good for ShelfGenie right now, which is wonderful. So we've got a pretty large, what we call our backlog. And so that's what most challenging right now, but also what I'm most excited about, and what we're going to do in the next several months is reduce the lead time. So we certainly want to get that into the client's home as fast as possible. And right now we're probably not doing it as fast as we can be. So we're working towards that. We want to shorten that time from the time the client purchases to when it can be installed. So we have a lot of things that we got to get in place first from a training perspective, which we're making really, really good strides in. But that's the next hurdle that we're going to be tackling in the next couple of months here is reducing the lead time.
What would you say the current lead time is running at right now on average?
Right now we are about 6 to 7 weeks, which depending on who you talk to for a custom product and a customized solution, some clients are perfectly okay with that, but we know we can do better. We are looking to, in the next quarter here, reduce that by half is the plan. So we would like to see it at about 3 weeks.
Yeah. And to your point, business is good. Historically, the summer months have been usually the slowest months that we would have throughout the year. It's never been to the point where, I would call it a seasonal business and there's just a massive drop off in the summer, but they were usually, June, July, 2 of the slowest months out of the 12.
Yeah.
And, this year, June, I think we're up considerably even from where we were in May, not even just looking at June year over year. We're also adding a lot of new franchise owners to the system. So there's more people out there selling that's leading to the volume. So good problem to have, but, definitely I think that is a challenge, but I know, you and the team are working hard to reduce that lead time. And, it does circle back to the level of customization that we're able to do. If we weren't truly customizing these solutions, we could turn them around very quickly. And, in our experience with our clients, very rarely do we get any pushback, when we set the expectation for lead time. Now, the key there is making sure our designers set the right expectation. So they put us in a position to, 9 times out of 10 over deliver instead of under deliver on what we've told them. And I think as long as that's being done well, you're not likely to have much pushback or frustrated clients. It really gives credibility to what we're doing. The fact that, there is a longer lead time because these solutions are being built so custom.
Agree. Yes.
So is there anything that you've been able to put in place over the last 90 days or so that, you're really excited about and want to share with anyone today?
No, absolutely. I mean, I think, with what we talked about with quality, we have reduced our claims percentage in the last month by about 66%. It's been, we've put the last 3 months, we've been doing a lot of work and we're finally seeing that kind of bear fruit. And also just, as I mentioned in the beginning, just the culture piece. Everyone on the production floor, I was just, on the floor yesterday, and we've got a team that's all really bought in. And they're bought into, our noble purpose, and they're bought into making things as best as we can for the franchise owners, but also for the clients. And so it's actually really exciting to kind of see that there's been a little switch that's happened in the past couple months. So I'm excited about what's next.
Yeah, I think the culture piece is huge. And I've heard this story. I think I've heard Andy tell it. You may be familiar with it too, but at some point not that long ago, I know Andy was there at the plant. I'm not sure if you were there with him or not, but he asked one of the floor employees at the plant, hey, how much do you think we sell this box to a client for? And the response was, $40, $50 maybe. And in reality, a glide out on average probably costs $300, $350. So just some education, for the employees there in terms of, what we're actually doing for our clients. And I know we've started sharing more with them in terms of, reviews that we get and testimonials and just how, much these solutions are able to have a positive impact on our clients' lives. And so I think helping them better understand what the work they do actually results in is a big part of kind of improving that culture. And with that comes better morale and then obviously more production and more attention to detail. And that's going to have a big impact on quality. So, I know there's some good things going on. And just to clarify, so Brooke lives in Atlanta and works out of the home office in Atlanta. You go to the plant about how often? Because I know you're there pretty frequently.
I'm there once a week. So yeah, we're there every Tuesday and and if needed, but we have weekly video calls daily video calls like this. So we have a production meeting every morning where we talk about, previous day's numbers. We talk about, any quality or training things that have come up from the day before, and then what are the goals. And, it's myself, Steve, who I mentioned, and then the plant manager and assistant plant manager. And we don't miss a day. And so that's also been really helpful too, is just having that consistency.
Absolutely. All right, I'm gonna unmute everyone again and see if there's any questions that have come to mind for anyone on the call.
I have a quick question. So you said that the lumber comes from Russia. Do you have any backups in case, I don't know, let's just say on the world stage, somehow Russia has sanctions applied to their lumber? You know, in order to keep the cost of goods down, do you have any backup plans?
Yes. So we actually, so we source from several different vendors who all work with different mills. We also we forecast way in advance as well as they do. And so also we'll be told, hey, you know, there might be some tariffs coming, you know, in 6 months. So we'll pre-order. So they keep a bunch on hand for us, and then we keep a bunch in stock too to prevent that. So it's not a sole mill in Russia, you know, that we're depending on.
Okay.
Yeah, and so if anything like that were to happen, we'd have enough notice based on the supply we'd already have, you know, to have plenty of time to pivot as needed.
For sure.
Great question though, Tommy. Really good question. Who else? Come on, guys. The hangovers are supposed to be on Friday, not Wednesday.
Yeah, this is Joe Wiegand.
Hey,
I've
Joe.
been coming in and out of the meeting. Can you hear me all right? Because I'm on the road.
Yes, sir. We can hear you fine.
Hey, thanks. I missed that last conversation, but I had a question with regards to quality control. The discussion kind of prompted me to think of this. Is on the receipt side, you have on the production side, you have a 13-point checklist that you do for quality control. Then I would imagine that you would provide that 13-point checklist to the installers so they could do a receipt inspection to make sure the quality control matched on the receipt end to preclude any discovery at the customer end.
No, that's a great question. So no, we don't have the same quality control or, you know, the rigorous checks on the installer side. We do require that they inspect the shipment. So when they received a pallet, they need to check in every single box. You know, if I've got the Smith job and it's got 10 boxes on it, do I have 10 boxes? And is it the right package? Is it the right height? Is it the right rail? We do require them to go through that, but we also wrap them in such a way so that it makes it easy for them to then transport it to the client's home. So, you know, there could be something that might not be discovered until the client's home, but, you know, that's actually pretty rare. But we do, when they're in training, you know, we train them to, when the installers come to training, they are to at least inspect as much as they can visibly and let us know or file any claims if there is any issue prior to ever calling the client. So we don't want an install scheduled with the client until they know 100% they're good to go.
Yeah, and I would imagine, I may be wrong, but I would imagine some of what's included in that 13-point check, you know, that's throughout the manufacturing process. So some of the areas of, say, a box that are being inspected may not even be visible once it's fully assembled, and it may not even be applicable. But yeah, I mean, Joe, your point, I think, is very valid that, you know, there should be a process in place for these installers to inspect it. And that's something that all of the installers, when they come to Atlanta and go through our training and certification program, they are trained on that. And then, you know, once they're back in their respective market, you know, that's where it's really the franchise owner's responsibility to make sure that, you know, they've set the right expectations and then that they're managing to that. So I will tell you, some franchise owners have installers that would never show up to a client's house with something that was, you know, built to the wrong size or maybe got damaged in shipping, because they do have a good process. They understand that is an expectation of their franchise owner. I can tell you there's probably other installers that are a lot more likely to show up with something that's damaged or not built correctly, and then, you know, have to have that conversation with the client, you know, hey, sorry, this wasn't done correctly. Now we've got to reorder it. So a lot of it does come down to, you know, how well you're managing your team as an owner. But you're exactly right. I mean, we want to take every step possible to make sure that we're not showing up to a client's house with something that's incorrect.
Yeah.
Thanks. I got two more questions.
Go
the
for
next
it.
one is, obviously we're talking about ShelfGenie growing, and that's a good sign. There's challenges for capacity right now through manufacturing, as witnessed by the increased time to receive an order. So what is your plans for dealing with increased capacity with more franchises coming online?
So we're actually in the midst of kind of going through that process, building out what we're calling our, contingency plan. We've also, we have some good relationships with some other partners that we've had in the past that have outsourced for us. So we've also talked to them about, if we do get, so over capacity, could they take on some of that, add a line in their facility specifically for ShelfGenie? So we're exploring that. That's something that we have done in the past. As well as, we're going through the process of looking at our future growth and what we need to do to grow with the system and what that means for manufacturing. So that is very, very much something we're talking about every week.
So how many more franchises can you take on board before you're at max capacity?
How many people are on this call? 8. We could do 8.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's.
I'm joking. It's a good question. I'll shut up so Brooke can answer it.
Yeah, I mean, we look at it more from a volume perspective versus, number of franchise owners. It takes, a good bit of time for that ramp up phase. So the things that we're working on now, just even from a capacity standpoint in our current building with, we're putting in some lean processes in place and working on our efficiency. So, we're not busting at the seams yet. We just need to get better at what we're doing. And then, in the next, 6 to 12 months, be able to start preparing for that growth. I don't have an answer for you of, what's the magic number of franchise owners at this point, because we're going to always continue to grow with the system.
Yeah. And I think it's a great question. And Brooke, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't there the opportunity to add another shift or extend shifts if we need to at the current plant as well?
Yeah, no, absolutely. We're actually going to be starting a second shift in August. So there's all kinds of, different levers that we can pull, to make sure that we're taking care of the orders.
Okay, well, that speaks volumes if you're not even up to 3 shifts yet. So thank you. And then my last question is for Wes. I've been on a couple calls now, and then in this call as well, you've talked about arrangements and agreements that you've reached with your designers and installers. During the onboarding process, does ShelfGenie go through what good looks like with regards to what types of considerations you should put into the contracts for your 1099 employees? So, when I get around to it, I don't get in a situation where I'm like, whoops, I should have thought of that.
Right. No, great question. So yeah, a big focus for any new franchise partner coming through training is, recruiting their team, right? Because anyone that's done, one-on-one calls with me, if you have listened to any of these webinars, the theme you'll pick up on very quickly is that, for this business model to really work and to really scale, it comes down to how good of a team, you as the franchise partner can develop. And so that's a huge focus for us when it comes to training. New franchise owners go through the same training a designer and an installer would, so they can understand that process, become proficient at it themselves. It'll put them in a much better position to recruit. But as they're going through that training, we're also taking a train the trainer approach. So when it comes to recruiting new franchise owners, when they start their onboarding, they get a packet for both designers and installers that's got everything from sample job descriptions to sample interview guides, as well as a template, if you will, for the designer and installer agreements. And, that template is comprehensive. So a franchise partner literally could take that template, put their business information on it and use that. But it's also, something that you could customize, add to, take away from if you wanted to. But, certainly we're in a position to give you guidance when it comes from that. There's a lot of franchise owners out there that have made mistakes when it comes to recruiting. So that's another resource you can learn from other franchise owners. Andy Pittman, our CEO, he's a longtime franchise owner as well. So he's in a position to give a lot of guidance and insight around this to new franchise partners. And he does spend a lot of time with our new franchise partners as they're coming through training. We've gone as far over the years as had, really top performing designers and installers take a personality assessment, which then kind of gives you a profile of, hey, this is what we know a great installer kind of looks like and some of the qualities that they have. Same thing for a designer. So that's an option for a franchise partner if they wanted to have a prospective designer or an installer take that same assessment and then kind of see how the profile matches up. And that's usually not a make it or break it type of thing, but it is another resource that's available to franchise partners. So hopefully that answers your question, but I'm happy to expand on that if you'd like. It's a good question.
No, that's very good. Thank you.
Yeah, really good question. All right, we're coming up on the top of the hour. So I told Brooke we would try to keep this at right to an hour. So your window's getting smaller for any questions that you may have. So Brooke, maybe one thing, and I don't know if I'm, if I'm crossing any lines, let me know, but you've alluded a few times to things that you're excited about coming down the road related to manufacturing and also related to our product line. So is there any sort of maybe a little teaser that you could give for anyone on the call in terms of things that are out in front of us that would be exciting to know about without giving away, I guess, anything that's confidential?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, like I said, we're wanting to work on the lead time. One of my personal goals, I said, we're looking to get it to 3 weeks in the next quarter, but I'd love to be able to get it to where we can differentiate ourselves from the competitors even more, where how we can get that down to, 10 days, 8 days. So that's one thing. But then the other thing is what I'm passionate about is like, what other rooms can we get into? And what are the other products out there that we need to start looking at, whether we're building them ourselves or what can we partner with? And, we're looking at, can we private label some things that would still be ShelfGenies, but how can we get out of the kitchen? We have a lot of folks that are doing stuff in other areas, but how do we make that more of something that we're known for? So that's a big focus in terms of product development or bringing on to the product assortment.
Yeah, and I know that's something that I'm very excited about. Just for our business is having more that we can offer, right? Because we get in and a lot of times we at least start out focusing on the kitchen or the pantry for someone because that is kind of our bread and butter, if you will, and what we're known for. But more times than not, those clients are going to have similar needs in other areas of the home, and because we are so custom, franchise owners can go and. I mean, my wife just quoted out an entire closet for a client, and they had actual closet companies come out, California Closets, and I think one other, and they just, for whatever reason, did not like the options that those companies had. So, my wife was able to do that, and it sounds like they'll move forward with the project, but it was pretty time consuming because she was having to kind of think outside of the box and take, just having to do it, I guess, a little more from scratch. So, whether it's closets or whatever the case may be, I think there's a lot of opportunity for us to kind of expand our offering, make it more of a staple amongst the franchise owners, and make it as easy, as it would be to go in and quote out a pantry for someone.
Definitely. Yep.
So it'll also create some remarketing opportunities as we continue to expand our product line. I mean, we've only been in business a year ourselves, but, we've had some success with this, and franchise owners that have been in business for longer and have a larger database of existing clients or other, potential clients that maybe they've quoted or they've at least talked to, but never actually materialized into a job. As we continue to expand this offering, it creates opportunities to go back and kind of remarket to our existing clients and our existing database.
Yeah. And I think it also opens up the opportunity to, grow our demographic as well. The more solutions and the different rooms and, can we capture the younger younger folks with some of the, they're wanting the closets and things. And then once they're happy with the experience, we got them for life. So as they begin to age, then we'll go into the kitchen. And so I think it just helps that pipeline too. So that's what I'm excited about.
Yeah, that's a great point. Totally agree with that. Well, good. Any final questions for Brooke before we let her go? All right. Well, if anyone wants to reach out, did I just cut someone off? No? Okay. If anyone does want to reach out to Brooke, I know she'd be happy to speak with you. You can connect with her on LinkedIn as well as through her email address here. For anyone that is already planning to or will eventually come to Atlanta for our Join the Team Day, you'll have the opportunity to meet Brooke there. She's a big part of that day. So, Brooke, really appreciate it. I know this was great information for everyone that called in today. And for everyone that did call in, thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate it. And you all know how to get in touch with me. I'm here to help however I can. Hope everyone has a wonderful 4th of July holiday, and I'll be talking to you all soon. Thanks.
Thanks, Wes.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks.